What's everyone's body count?
Oh, fuck.
Where are we starting?
Yeah, where do you want to start?
We usually go this every question.
So I have terrible memory, and
Just give us the number,
I have
please.
terrible memory.
You could do like a range if you don't remember.
She does. She
Definitely
forgot about some of our hookups together.
Yes. Some of our threesomes in the
Together.
past. I
Last
literally
night.
was like, we did what? But I would say
Oh,
Start this side.
okay. We'll start with you, I guess.
That means
I'm
he has
in-
commentary. He wants that.
I'm in the 3-digit. That's all I'm going to give you. It's a high 3-digit, but it's up there. I'm a recovered sex addict, so I'll just put that out there. So,
Oh,
yeah.
nice. Congratulations.
Thank you. My husband knocked the hoe out of me. That's how I put it. Thank you.
I'd rather not share. I'm being shy.
Oh, come on.
Range.
I know I'm a prude.
Don't be a prude. Come on.
You'd say like under
Okay.
10.
Is it?
Definitely under 10.
Okay, so then you're fine. You are a prude.
I know.
6.
I don't know exactly, and we were talking about it last night, but I've had like a series of monogamous relationships mostly. So I would say like under 25, but more likely under 20.
I think it's over 40. I have mommy and daddy issues, so it's
Yay.
been a long learning journey, but I feel grateful because I've learned a lot about what I like sexually from my experiences and what I do not like. So
And for me, I was gonna say, if we're counting men, women, and like scene partners. Oh, I'm sorry, I have a little bitty tiny voice. So if we're counting men, women, and scene partners, it's at least 50, but maybe closer to 100. Because I have bad memory.
at least
How? Oh yeah, sure. We'll do men and women.
Well,
separate.
definitely majority men, because they're easier, and I'm shy with the ladies, you know.
So like, how many of the 50 to 100 do you think are men?
The percentage would probably be like 80,
Oh, and then like the other percentage, 20.
20, yeah.
Yeah, I have less female than men in my number.
I'm bisexual too, but I have 0 women on my docket.
So you're not
Wait,
really
is everyone
bisexual then.
bisexual here?
you want to add one?
I'm by
That's not-
myself.
that's
That's what I am.
Wait, is everyone here bisexual?
I don't think so.
I am. She is. She is.
Who said that?
Then you just
Well, I
said
feel like if
She
you've
said
had a
she was
threesome,
in between.
Younger. Like I literally don't even. We've been like
They
really
be having
good friends
threesomes,
since.
but she's not bisexual.
would you say like
Not at
most
all,
of
not a little
like
bit.
your
Oh,
bodies were like with her?
I love
No,
Matt's comment.
no, that
I
was
have-
like
I
I,
have a
think that was
serious-
only 3 occasions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
If
we're
a-
not out here just like tag teaming all the time or anything like that.
Sounds like they're going out murdering people. You're like, how many bodies have you got?
What's your body?
Just bagging people right in
That's
left.
why they both chose men, because they actually want to murder the men.
I have a serious
caught us.
question.
Got
I have
real
a
dark.
serious question for you
What's
guys. Do you, if you're dating a guy and he tells you that he's had his dick sucked a bunch of times by a bunch of different dudes, including his best friend, is he gay?
Yes, he's at least
Does he like
bisexual.
men?
Yes, of course he does.
I think it's different for men and women. Like, I feel like in society, like, right, like it's more accepted for women to sleep with other women. Like,
Yeah.
I've slept with a couple women, but I don't really consider myself bisexual. But I was like, I'm curious, and like, it didn't traumatize me, right? Like, I didn't like question myself. Where I feel like if guys have an experience like that, like, it's not as accepted. Like,
Yeah.
like I ended a pretty serious relationship because I found out a man that I was dating had like gone down on another guy like in college, which is so dumb. I didn't judge him for it, but after he shared that, I just like saw him differently.
Nope.
You know,
Okay,
it
but
was
like
different
on one
for me.
hand, given that it is so like against societal norms and they still did it, they
But
look
you
gay.
know what I've heard also?
They look gay.
I don't disagree
Why
with
do you
you.
have-
think
I
it's
I mean,
different.
they
heard
should
that-
have the space
Are
to
you going through
experiment,
something?
though.
yeah, like
I've
no
heard-
judgment, but for me that
yeah.
killed it.
I just had an experience.
I've heard
like
that
this,
men are
and I
actually
genuinely
better
wanted to
We're
know.
talking over each other, ladies.
giving.
Wait, your current guy?
No comment. Not the current guy.
Oh,
Not
okay.
the current guy, but if I
One in
said
the
which
past.
one it was, then I
Well, I'm not gonna say who, but someone that I was with is now dating
A man.
a trans woman who has a penis.
Yay for
So
him.
is that gay? Do y'all think that's bisexual? I think
I think it is if
Yeah.
you
I think it's
enjoy
bisexual.
sexual encounters.
I think
with
if they have a
the same,
penis, it's
like,
fucking
and they
bisexual.
have the same parts as
genital-
you.
If you're a man who enjoys dick, then you are definitely a little bit gay.
And like
At
I
least a
can
little.
no okay,
A
so
little.
here's
A lot.
here's the nuance
I was just
on
being
my
nice.
take in that. I think a man
not
can
being
want a
nice.
woman to peg him and it still be straight because they have a G spot.
Wait, what?
there.
Say that again?
Yeah, that
I
makes sense.
think a man who wants a woman to like peg him, I don't think that's gay because
I
he has
agree.
a
I
G
think
spot
it
there.
is.
But
I
if
think
you
it's-
sleep with a man who has testosterone running through his body on a fucking biological hormonal level, you're bisexual at least.
I think maybe it's not like gay, but it's definitely like gay behavior.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not.
Maybe it's
okay,
like a gay
wait.
fantasy
Wait, we're not
or
allowed to
kink.
say that.
Tendencies.
It's
Tendencies.
not straight activity.
It's
Oh,
not
right,
straight
it's
activity.
non-straight
Oh, yeah.
activity.
That's fair.
Do you think that
Um,
about like
Gay means happy.
but
What do you mean?
what I heard,
I think it's a little sus. I do think it's a little sus.
What I-
because
That's what I
only
think
because
also.
the guys that I've been with who were super into anal, I found one trying to hook up with men on Craigslist, and then the other one is now in a relationship with a trans woman who has a penis. And
Maybe
is
it's a
very
gateway.
clearly.
If your dude has
Their round meatball donated
Any
$200. Any penetration to a guy
What about
is
his
gay.
heart?
it's
Yeah,
Mr.
I just don't
Meatball
think
dropping the
so.
knowledge.
It's like a dominant submissive thing. Like I don't want a man.
what if I penetrate his
Yeah.
heart with
Yeah.
my love? No, but I've heard that men are actually better at going down on other men than women are.
What's your next
Jeez.
question?
I think
Maddie?
other-
because
Otherwise-
they know?
They know more. That's what I've
Bro,
heard.
I leave for 3 minutes and they're talking about
Okay, well, she's had like some guy in
Sesame.
the past that has went down on other
Oh.
guys. She's also
No,
had
other
that
way,
same
other way.
thing. Oh,
Lad had lots of guys go down on him.
yeah.
Wait, did
But
we
not
do
gay.
we went all the way around on body count?
Yeah.
What was ever can I hear it again? I was done.
Over 50, closer to 100, over 40.
About 20
Wait,
maybe.
no,
25.
just let them hold on. Let them say it themselves, please. So let's start with you. Go ahead.
Triple digit.
I don't want to share.
Do you want to do a range?
She said
it's
under
very
10.
low.
Under
what?
9.
Very
under
low, but I
10.
just rather not.
6.
I feel like under 20.
Like over 40.
Less than what? Over 40, less than
60.
less than 60. Okay, and then she said this one's 60 or something.
She said 50 to 100.
Oh, 50 to 100. Okay. Good times. All right.
They must have had good times. Were they good times?
Me? Are you asking me?
Were they
Wait, are
good
we asking
times?
about
Are we?
Bobby?
Some of the times were not good.
Yeah, because I'm wondering
they were good
in
times.
those experiences if they're
Oh,
quality.
really quick. I'll just. So one of the flakes we put. Nick, can you pull up the thumbnail really quick? Guys, so we have one of the flakes in the thumbnail, and once we're done with it, you can X out that. Okay, she's the one with the blue hair. We obviously have the, I guess, the raven-haired girl and the pink-haired girl here. So we're gonna just do a little reaction to the thumbnail since she's not here. There's a couple pieces of criticism and commentary I have on this thumbnail and on this photo. First off, gentlemen, would you date a woman who has a sternum tattoo, has an under titty tattoo, who has, I believe, fake lips? They look a little fake to me, a little puffy. Fake contacts.
Purple
and
bob.
then the blue, it's obviously a wig. A blue bob. So, and I am possibly detecting nipple piercing. So, chat, would you date a woman like this? I can speak personally. There's absolutely no scenario where I would ever date a woman like that. I might even throw up in my mouth a little bit if I even encountered such a person, especially if they're inclined to no-show to a commitment that they requested. There might be a little vomit in the back of my mouth. So would you, I'm just curious, guys, would you date her, chat? Like that's, just wanting your guys' input.
I have a question. If
Tell
you,
me why I thought that was her for a
Go,
second.
John.
Who, me?
Samson.
It was her.
and that was
Oh wait,
you.
before I
No.
have you go, your body count is between 50 and 100? Mm-hmm. And is it, you said it's like mixed girls, guys, kind of?
Yeah,
or-
like 80-20, mostly guys.
Okay, go ahead, Madison.
oh, I was saying like if you had to date a girl like her and one of those bad things had to go, which would you?
What do you mean, one of
Like
the bad
the
things?
sternum tattoo, the nipple piercings,
What's worse?
the like if you had to pick one to go.
like only one could go, the rest
Yeah.
has to stay. That's still pretty shitty. How about just being a terrible human being? How about that? That has
Time
to go.
management.
Why did y'all pick the most masculine looking picture of me? I look like
That's
a
a
lesbian
good-
in that picture.
It's a good photo. I like the beanie. It's a good
Yeah?
look for you.
Okay.
That's
Because I
good
got a big
photo.
ass forehead. That's probably why.
No, it's just it's a good
I do have a big ass forehead.
The
If I was rich, I would definitely get like a hair transplant or something, so my forehead wouldn't be so
your
damn
hair's
big.
fine. Is that the second one that fell?
That was a mic.
The table's
Oh,
gonna
okay.
collapse.
Well, can here? Why did it? Oh boy. Okay. All right. Fuck this table. Okay.
I was thinking the same thing.
I can't. It's physically impossible.
Stop. Can I have you read this one, please?
Wow. Can you have her read this tongue twister also? Oh my God. Okay. She sells seashells down by the seashore. How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Cans and clams, can't believe me.
That was good.
I really tried. I have like a little bit of a
Alright.
speech impediment as well, so that's.
Yo, Kill of Cereal. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Thank you. That was a perfect test. I would like to actually test these women's typing speed, like words per minute. So one of these days, I'm just gonna like get a keyboard and let them do like a typing test and see their words per minute.
I type with 2 fingers.
I type
Oh
it
Like
my.
I can type pretty well.
Just like I hit the space
Do you guys
bar
know
with
what
my
your
thumb, but
words
then
per
I'm, like,
minute?
literally like 4 fingers.
Like 20, 30 words per minute or
I used to
something.
know
No,
that.
that's
idea.
I started taking
low.
Yeah,
I'm,
those
I'm,
classes.
I'm old enough that I took a typing class in high school, so mine was up to 60 words per minute.
Nice.
That's a good memory. I cannot
Nice.
remember shit from last week.
I'm gonna get into the pre-show notes here. Actually, we did the Stifler. We had, I guess, a couple times. I'm just gonna hide those. Pre-show notes. So starting with Juliet, you wanted to talk about the ways in which modern feminism is actually harming both men and women and keeping us from what we actually are seeking. Do you want to add anything to that? Do you want to elaborate at all, or?
Oh man, you jumped right in. I wasn't ready. Okay. I think that it's been really interesting for me over the years. Like the dating climate was very different. I'm 38 now. So when I was single, like 10, 15 years ago, it was a very, very different world. And I feel like it's not just feminism in general, because I feel like that has a lot of meanings, right? Like feminism 30 years ago meant something very different than it does now. But I think especially with modern feminism, I feel like men and women especially more for some reason, in my opinion, have lost sight, and I know we talked about this earlier, of what the other is actually looking for when it comes to long-term partnership. I'm not talking about short-term casual stuff. I think that's been really interesting for me, and yeah, I think it's a different world, and I think that there are a lot of women who are doing OnlyFans and sex work and all that kind of stuff and really enjoy it and are super happy. And I think that's awesome. I've also seen the flip side of it too. So I'd love to hear your ladies' perspectives on that. I don't know what your experiences have been. You seem like you're really happy with it, which is awesome. I fully support that. I'm very, I guess, kind of libertarian in that sense. I'm kind of like, do what you want. But I also agree with Brian and kind of some other people who have been on the show where I've also seen the dark side of it. And I think going back to mommy and daddy issues, I think we laugh a lot about that, but I do think there's a lot more research coming out about how we were raised and how those family dynamics determine not just how we value ourselves, but what we tolerate and seek in those intimate relationships. That's number one. I think that secondly, I think that as I've gotten older, I think that sex means different things to different people, right? Like for some people, I feel like sex is about getting off. And I feel like for other people, it's more about intimacy and connection. And yes, like chemistry is very important. I know, especially like with my next partner, like if that chemistry isn't there, I'm not interested. I do feel like that's kind of the glue that holds everything together. But I also think that sex is different for men than it is for women a lot of the time. And people denying that, I'm not saying one necessarily needs it more than the other, but it means something different. I feel like men can have sex and not get emotionally attached. I'm not saying women can't, but I do think that there is a biological predisposition there.
Yes,
and
they
that-
quite literally produce dopamine and vasopressin
Yes.
as opposed to women producing more oxytocin.
Agreed. And I don't think that has to do with feminism. I think there's some biology there that a lot of people these days, maybe with social media, maybe with new wave feminism, they're just denying that. And I think it's causing a lot of harm. And I feel like such a lame prude saying that. And 15 years ago, I was never super promiscuous, but I definitely had a very different mindset about it. I was way more kind of like free-spirited, just in my mentality, and I've really changed the older I've gotten. So I'd be interested to hear other ladies' perspectives on that.
So wait, do you think that modern femininity or feminism is like ruining sexual relationships between men and women?
Definitely.
Interesting. In some ways, yes. In some ways, yes. And I'm not like anti-sex. I'm all for like, I have no issue with that. I really don't have any shame issues around that.
Can you
or
give an
anything.
example? Like
An
can you
example
give an
of how it's
example
ruining?
of how you think? Yeah.
It's an
Yes.
objective fact that second wave feminism contributed greatly to hookup culture.
Yes, so she just
Like,
hit the
this
nail
is-
on the head. So that's a really good point. So for example, there's a lot of research coming out, and that's my bad for not like being able to cite my sources, so I apologize, but I think it's pretty easy to look this up. But a lot of the men that are on dating apps, maybe some of the women too, generally speaking, they're not really seeking long-term partnership. The people, it doesn't matter if it's Hinge or Tinder or Plenty of Fish. I'm not saying that people can't meet on those apps and end up finding like the love of their life. I know that that happens. All I can speak on is anecdotally. I'm not a scientist, but from my experience and 38 years of life, right, from a sexual marketplace value standpoint, 38's kind of old. I don't feel old, but like, you know, I have to think like logically. Like just from what I've seen, like it's just a very different world. And and yeah, I just feel like this idea that women can casually have sex and hook up with a lot of people and just detach themselves emotionally from that, and I'm not even talking about drugs or alcohol, I don't think that's actually possible. And I do know that the 1 or 2 one-night stands that I've had in my life, I was lying to myself, pretending that like I didn't feel anything or I didn't care. And I'm very, very grateful. That's one of the few things I got really right in my life, is figuring that out super early on, because I do think it saved me, despite my family upbringing not being perfect or my mom and dad making mistakes. Like, that's one thing I'm so grateful I learned early on in life, because I do think it saved me a lot of pain and trauma. So, yeah.
Grid 1 Motorsports donated $200. B. The woman prattle is unbearable. The patriarchy is standing by. I can be in the studio ready to remote in 5 minutes, which might prevent us all from being bored to death with all this prattle.
Hey, Grid 1 Motorsports, thank you, man. Just for the sake of moving things along, we're just going to continue on as is. But good to have you in the stream, man. We will get you eventually on the call in. I'd rather like pre-schedule it instead of it being like sort of impromptu and spontaneous. But we will get you on the show eventually, my man. Whether it's in person or a call in or something, I'd just rather like plan it ahead of time than just impromptu, spontaneous. But good to hear you in the chat, man. Well, you mentioned feminism really quick, so why don't I ask, going around the table, who here is a feminist? Starting with you.
I don't like claim any kind of side, but I guess like if you ask me questions, I probably have some takes that are on either side. No, I wouldn't say I am.
So you wouldn't say you're a feminist?
No, I wouldn't say I'm a feminist.
Okay.
Just like I'm non-denominational.
I wouldn't say I'm a feminist. No.
I'm not a feminist.
I am.
Not a feminist.
Can I ask
I'm
you to
assuming.
define what that means?
Well, I mean, there's different definitions. People define it
Exactly.
differently. There's a couple different charitable definitions I could give it. The way I've described it in the past is, and this is a charitable definition, is feminism is it's a women's advocacy movement.
In that sense, I would say no.
It's not an equality movement.
That's fair.
And I actually don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with women's advocacy, but it's certainly not, in my view, it's not an equality movement.
Well, to quote Jordan Peterson, I do think it's like equal opportunity is important, but the guaranteed outcome is not fair. So yeah, I do think that men and women should have equal rights. Absolutely, there should be laws in place to protect women. I'm all for that. But this
Hold
idea
on, why
that,
should
like,
there be when you say there should be laws in place to protect women, What do you mean? Because that
Like
doesn't
for-
sound like equality. If the laws are only to protect women, that's not really egalitarian, is it?
Fair. I should have clarified. Like a family setting, like with children or something like that.
Or maybe the fact that women were the ones who lacked the same equal rights. So that's why the
There was
movement began.
disparity.
Like, even objectively, I'm not a feminist, and I see a lot of issues, particularly with second wave feminism. But yeah, like you're not saying that men shouldn't also have rights. You're just saying that women had to
Yes.
catch up to the same rights.
Yes,
like
but once
owning a
they're
bank
there-
account and whatever else.
But right now, I think it's fair to say, like, it goes back to the trans debate too. Sorry to bring that. Sorry, is that a word I'm not allowed to say on here?
We were
Is
talking
trans
about it earlier.
acceptable? Okay. Like, are there any laws that these people don't have that we have now? Or, I mean, just keep it to men and women, but I feel like men and women do have legally the same rights right now for the most part.
Yeah.
So I think it's fair
Sure.
that we can probably stop at that. But I think the whole idea of men being trash or evil or bad or pieces of shit, I really can't get on board with that.
Sexism. It's
Yeah.
Are you a
It's like
feminist?
racism.
No?
CPR ICE 1824 donated $200. Pardon, I missed the intro, so I don't know your name. But divorce, I'd like I shot at the title.
At the title of what? Like my next husband?
Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah, he's shooting a shot.
You have her Instagram.
What you look like? Are you smart?
Are you
What's
gonna
your
hide behind a
IQ?
screen?
See, Price, hey, she's open-minded. She's asking if you're smart, what's your IQ, and she also wants to know your pee-pee size. So please include that in your next chat. She's dying to know all these things. Okay, so feminists, some feminists, you're a feminist. Okay, good to know. We'll touch on feminism a little later on in the show. You said in your pre-show notes, men being unwilling to commit and expecting physical intimacy without commitment, but you can't blame them given the current climate, how women are conducting themselves. But you were raised relatively traditionally, so it's been a real challenge for you. Just a question for you: do you want kids?
That's a good question. I feel like I would need to have the right partner. Like, I would never want to be a single mother, just personal preference. I think that'd be really challenging. And I think also statistically, the studies do show that children do thrive best with both a mother and a father. So
Right.
would I just want a kid to have a kid? No. If I met a man in the next couple of years who wanted a child and he was the right person, yes, I would consider that. But I don't really want to have a kid after 40. So
You don't want to have a. Well, what if you did meet that right guy after 40?
I would just have to really consider that. I think there's some health risks there, and I think I physically could.
Right. Well, would
Yeah.
would you want?
It would not be my preference.
Okay.
No.
You said you're also.
Doc Venabilly donated $200. Men with the dark
Good to see you in
tetrad and
the chat.
women with cluster B are more likely to engage in short-term mating strategies. Feminism has helped normalize all this mental pathology.
That's totally
Well
true.
put. Well put.
Yep. Very good point.
Thank you, Doc Venably. Good to see you in the chat, man. You're a legend. You also said that you're a business owner. You're a relatively high earner. You're a very driven person. So finding a man who can match and ideally top that, who's also interested in monogamy, isn't easy. So you're a business owner. You say you're a relatively high earner. I don't know if you want to give us a range in terms of income.
Sure.
I'm assuming it's six figures.
Yeah. I mean, there have been years where we've brought in $500,000. Yeah.
Well, in revenue or in profit?
Profit.
Okay. Who's we?
Me.
Oh, okay.
I'm a corporation, so.
Oh, okay.
Like,
All
yeah.
right. Do you have partners or is it
No.
what's your business?
For privacy reasons, I'd rather not say, just because someone could
Maybe
easily.
don't say the name, but is it
Let's
you
just
selling?
say marketing, like marketing
Okay.
consulting. Yeah.
All right.
It's just, yeah.
So you're making mid to or low to mid six figures in that range?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You said you've had to teach yourself what it means to be feminine and follow not for the right man, but in general. And you're learning how to become the kind of woman that the kind of man I'm looking for would see it worthwhile to commit to. Required a lot of change and self-reflection on your part. So how were you before, and what did you change?
Just kind of, I think, unaware of myself in a lot of ways, in ways that I was not really appearing masculine physically, but kind of acting very masculine, if that makes sense.
Was this before or after the tattoos?
Oh, this was way before. Yeah.
Before you got tattoos. Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting to me. You said, I mean, you're 38 now,
Mm-hmm.
and you had no tattoos, and then was it 34, 35?
35, and you're right,
You
that's
just-
a good point. It was a very kind of, I don't want to say a limiting choice, but in some ways a limiting choice for sure. But a concession that I pretty consciously chose to make.
What's the concession?
I think that it limits your dating pool. I think there's a lot of associations with women who have tattoos, which I totally understand.
So then, why did you opt to get the tattoos?
Because I think that I got a very clear idea of my values
Shows
and who I was.
the
little
double,
Viking sleeves.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there are a lot of other ways aside from just how you look physically that you can embody feminine energy as a woman, in the sense of letting a man lead, really learning to defer in that way and fully trust someone. And I think a lot of that has to do with doing work on yourself and has absolutely very little to do with tattoos. But I am aware of how that can come across visually. But I think that just seeing the kind of people that I am attracting into my life now professionally as friends, it's been a real indicator that I'm on the right path to getting to where I'm going. And
Right.
the tattoos, I would not say have affected that in a negative way.
Now, you said your 7-year relationship ended 4 years ago, and you've been single for 4 years. In fact, you've stated that you've been celibate for that entire 4-year period, but you are an attractive woman. So, I mean, I'm imagining that there are men who have demonstrated an interest in you. Do you feel as if your standards are too high?
Thank you.
Or
That's
maybe.
possible. I think it's that's always possible, right? Like that we're expecting something that's more than maybe what we're worthy of. But I also think a big factor of that is I was kind of a serial monogamist from the time I was like 19, 20 onwards. I was always in like a long-term committed relationship.
Right.
And I had never really taken the time since I was younger and I lost my virginity to really, it sounds really cliche, but actually just be by myself and like learn to not like need a partner romantically. And taking the time to do that in my 30s the last couple of years, I don't think it's so much that I'm like seeking these men and then being rejected so much. It's more that like I'm not in a rush to get into something where the person doesn't have the values that I'm looking for. It's not really so much about like this guy needs to be 6'2" and making $1 million and like that really doesn't matter to me so much. It's more just like I'm looking for a very specific set of values and I'm not willing to compromise on those values. And because I embody those values, I don't feel like I'm shooting too high, and I hope that makes sense. So it's
those
more
are good
about
standards to have.
it's more about integrity. It's less like the guy needs to be like rich and really hot. Like that would be nice, but it's actually a different set of things that I'm looking for at this point in my life.
But in your pre-show notes, you said that you're a business owner, relatively high earner. We talked about that. You're a very driven person. So finding a man who can match and ideally top that, who's also interested in monogamy, so that does speak to the values thing.
Yes.
But it does seem like you do at the very least want a guy, would you say you want a guy who, in terms of his income, makes as much or more than you?
The woman in me does, but I understand too that might not be realistically possible for me, especially at 38, right? Like, because a lot of those men are statistically going to be going for younger women, which I totally respect, and that's their preference, and it makes perfect sense to me. But would it be nice if I met someone who matched that drive? And when I say drive, I don't necessarily just mean financial drive. As long as they can support themselves and they're like stable. It's more drive and they're ambitious, right? And how ambitious they are and their tenacity, and also just having a vision for their life. That's important to me.
All right, got it. Moving to Tavia, you said you've dated a sexy fireman from Spain that you met in Bali, Indonesia.
Yeah.
You dated a married couple that are open. So you were like the third wheel, or what do you call that?
Kinda.
Unicorn?
Yeah.
Okay. Are they still together?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You wanted to, maybe we'll touch on that thing later. You said you don't, here's something you disagree on. You don't agree with all the discussion about women's and men's roles in relationships. So I wanted to ask, what specifically?
Well, I think one time, loading.
Loading. Yep.
I think one time I like opened up like your podcast and I was like scrolling through and there was just like controversy on like would a man want to be with someone that does sex work, and I was just like, what kind of question is that? Because everybody's so different. Like, why does that one factor matter? I feel like someone's job, it's like why would a woman that's young like me want to marry a guy that works a 9-to-5 office job? To me that seems kind of boring. You know, like why not a sexy fireman? I mean, like, everybody has a different.
Why would it be boring to marry a guy who works a 9-to-5? Isn't that a perfectly respectful career path?
To me, it's just boring.
So the same objection you have to wanting to date a man who's a blue-collar worker, for example, who works 9-to-5, why can't men have the exact same objection to dating a woman who fucks other people on camera?
No. Well, I'm just saying I don't like the talk. Like, if the question was like, why would a man want to date a sex worker? It's like, well, you could ask that question about anything. Like, why would you want to date someone from Walmart? Why would you want to date someone who works at a pet store? Why? But everybody's different, you know? So that topic was like irritating for me because I was like,
why is it irritating to you?
Because it just doesn't, in my like with the work that I've done, like I've had 2 people propose to me already and I said no, and I do sex work and they didn't see me any differently based on that.
Okay, so I mean, in terms of the conversations we've had on this show, honestly, I kind of don't really care when it comes to if women do sex work. I don't really care. But my prescriptive advice that I give to men is dating a woman who is involved in sex work or was involved in sex work is a suboptimal dating choice. So maybe that's your objection there. Men and women can have any preferences, standards, and boundaries that they want, but I mean, let me ask you a question. Can you try to argue my position for me? So argue, why would somebody not want to date a sex worker? Like, can you think of any reasons?
Maybe someone that's...
You about to say insecure? It sounded like you were about to say insecure there. No, I'm not asking what's wrong with that person. I'm saying what would be some reasons why somebody would not, like, negative consequences of dating someone who's involved in sex work.
Maybe someone that has a business. They don't want the idea of their partner to like ruin their reputation.
Sure. Okay, that's a good one. Yeah.
Someone that doesn't want to share their person with somebody else, with anybody else.
Okay. Anything else?
Valid.
Oh, it's valid.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for making my argument for me.
It's valid.
Oh,
I just don't like. I just don't like that it's like a common topic. That's just was irritating to me. Like, why is it always like, why would a man want to be with a sex worker?
Well,
it's like
here, look. Just to be charitable, women who do sex work invariably will probably. There's a bit of a cope when it comes to this conversation. I think if a woman's involved in sex work, she'll probably find a guy. Like this whole cope of like she's gonna be a cat lady and never find a man. It's cope, especially if she's attractive and not a total piece of shit. She'll probably find a guy. However, I will say, and in terms of prescriptive advice to men that I give, I don't recommend it. I don't recommend men date sex workers. I think it's a suboptimal dating choice. And sometimes you're not always going to get the most optimum partner in your life, but it is significantly suboptimal for various reasons. And I think the other thing is just slipped my mind. But anyways, yeah.
Can I ask you, please, what are your reasons for why it's suboptimal? Like, why would you?
Sure.
Yeah, like she gave some reasons. No.
Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah, I'll give you a couple. So first off, for example, women who do OnlyFans, and I actually try not to bring this topic up just to be, I suppose, courteous to the women if we do have OnlyFans girls on the show, just not to throw your hustle totally under the fucking bus. But y'all become very well practiced in deception and manipulation and lying.
Yep.
Here's why. Because most of you sell the girlfriend experience, and you basically commit, in my estimation, you commit fraud by saying, I'm talking to you. I'm not saying all OnlyFans girls do this. but most of them do. The bigger they are, the more likely they are to have, for example, a typer or to have a chatter. But you're advertising yourself as saying, I'm talking to you. So you become very well versed in fraud and lying. And you have no issue with it whatsoever. So you become accustomed and adjusted to making small lies, and small lies become big lies. So that's one of my issues that I have with it.
So it's
most
only
of these sex
OnlyFans.
workers are incredibly attuned to manipulation and lying.
Can I defend just my personal experience?
Actually, don't we have a tweet related? Some girl had a tweet about this. Fuck, hold on. Let me see if I don't know. Oh man, I don't know if we only have one tweet, right, Nick? Yeah. Oh man, I could have sworn that. I'm gonna double check, but do you guys acknowledge that girls who do OnlyFans have typers?
Yes, many of them. Do.
Many of them, yeah.
Many of them do. That's the ones that are like online 24/7.
What do they even put in their bio? You can talk to me, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
I don't
you're
like
lying.
that. That's
You're
a practice.
lying.
I'm very
It's
against,
fraud. It's literally
personally,
fraud.
I'm very against having
Okay.
management companies and all that stuff.
Sure. So that's one of my justifications for it. In addition to that, OnlyFans girls will typically hide the fact that they're in a relationship. So you just become very well versed and practiced in your deception and manipulation, because if you were honest about the fact that you're dating a guy or you're married or you have a relationship, it would hurt your bottom line. Secondly, when it comes to the typing and chatting thing, if you were telling the guys, by the way, it's some dude in Bangladesh who's getting paid $5 a day to be sexting with you, and you're sexting with the dude, it would hurt your bottom line. So you're doing this sort of fraudulent misrepresentation. On that level, I object to it. In addition, in terms of the actual content that you're making, and I actually think the fraudulent misrepresentation is worse than the fact that there's nude photos of you floating around the internet.
Same. We agree on that.
So, for
What
example,
about people in sales?
Huh?
What about people in sales? What do you think about them?
If they're making fraudulent claims and they're enticing people, it's called fraudulent inducement into fraudulent misrepresent. I can't remember the specific legal term, but it could open someone up to civil liability if they lie about their product.
True, but people in sales, I feel like, do it all the time.
Well, so there's a sales principle called puffery.
like leaving things out of the.
Well,
of
I
the
mean,
equation.
it depends
Is
what.
that technically
I
considered
object.
lying or fraud if something is intentionally left out?
Can I interject?
When making a sale?
Can I interject? Because here's the thing. I used to work for Jenny Craig for 3.5 years as a program director. I'm not selling lies. I'm selling hope and like the fascination that they're going to be able to lose weight, right? You are instilling hope and faith in these men that they have a shot with you. So I think that's part of what Brian is saying too, is sort of like you guys are you painting this fantasy like, oh baby, I only want you. I'm only thinking of you. You're gaslighting them.
But I think everybody's
almost all men do to women,
Everybody's
so that they can get into their pants.
That's
on a
90%
regular
of
basis.
OnlyFans.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if I can acknowledge that that's wrong, can you acknowledge that women doing it is also wrong?
I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah.
I don't have I'm not disagreeing with you on that.
Okay.
But I just think that the standard should be the same for men when it comes to their interactions with women, because they will also act like, oh, I want to be with you, when they really just want to sleep with somebody.
But they're not
But
getting paid
don't-
for it.
Don't the men already have this understanding?
We know
that
somebody
they're
that gets
not-
paid for it. We know some men that get paid for it. Yeah.
Do these
Oh, yeah,
do
some
these
men get
men
paid for
actually
it.
buy into the thought that these women are interested in them?
Absolutely. I mean, how much money are they
it's a
spending?
fetish. I think
Look
it's genuinely a fetish for men that they
It's like
want
degradation.
and I think at the same time it's also in a way healthy for men that need some sort of somebody to talk to, and like for me that's what I make my platform about. Like you have like a place to come and be yourself and express when you're lonely
While
or
you're
when
naked and fingering
sad.
yourself.
And
Only if
no,
they
them.
pay you,
I'm talking
though.
about them, not me. But like, I think sex work is super important, because I think if we didn't have it, that there would be a lot of men that have needs that aren't getting met, and that makes things dangerous.
So your argument is, if there wasn't sex work,
Porn.
that men would just be on a rampage, just like essaying chicks?
be
Is
that
the
15%.
argument?
I think it would be
I
scary.
mean, that's what porn is for. The only difference between OnlyFans and porn is that they get a reaction from you as opposed from porn. That's the only difference. You are technically porn. That's
It's
what
like an
OnlyFans is.
interactive
Exactly.
experience.
Can I ask
So-
you something, Brian? Are you do you support capitalism?
Oh, you're libertarian. Okay, I know where you're going. Yeah, I'm in favor of capitalism.
Okay, so there's a market for OnlyFans. So do you equally hold the men who create the market accountable?
Yeah, I mean, I don't hold these men who like pay for these girls' OnlyFans in high regard. And
Right,
I
but let's say
advocate-
your guy friend comes to you and he's like, I want to get this girl's OnlyFans. Are you just saying, well, you shouldn't because she's X, Y, and Z? Or are you also like, hey, like you should probably contribute to society in a better way than creating this market which objectifies women and can lead to all the negative things that you talk about?
Well, there's supply and demand, right? So,
Right. So if you're a capitalist.
yeah, I don't have anything wrong with capitalism. I don't actually, frankly, I don't give a fuck about sex work. But I look at it from a dating lens. So my prescriptive advice to men is don't date a woman who has photos of herself fucking other men on camera.
And I think that's
Simple.
fine. I'm just wondering if you also tell men like, hey, you probably shouldn't be
And
subscribing
I don't
to
have
this
a double
stuff.
standard on this.
Okay.
Ladies, if you don't
Well,
want
not
to
everyone
date,
that does OnlyFans fucks men on camera.
that's fine. But it's not like I have a double standard on this. Women, if you don't want to date a man who's a porn star, that's totally fine. I don't have like, so this is kind of not like a gendered thing necessarily, but
So
well,
do you
I just
think
really, I think like when it comes to dominance in a man, I find it way more attractive and way more dominant when a man holds other men accountable. Like that's when I view a man as a real leader. It's easy for men to sit around and be like, you shouldn't want a woman who does da da da. But it's harder for a man to be like, hey, homie, you probably shouldn't be subscribing to this shit.
I make this prescriptive claim all the time. I say, men, you shouldn't even be following women on Instagram. You shouldn't. I don't follow
That's fair.
any girls on Instagram. You shouldn't be liking their shit, simping for them, leaving fucking lame ass comments. That's me holding men accountable. Men should not do that. They shouldn't be paying for OF. They shouldn't be subscribing to it. But
That's
like,
good.
I don't really give a like. Would society probably be better if there wasn't like porn and sex work? Probably. At the end of the
100% it
day,
would be.
though, I'm not like. I typically, that's why when I do have OF girls or sex workers on, I'm typically not making actual like criticisms of that specifically. It's always from a dating lens, where I'm basically saying, guys, it's suboptimal to date a woman who has an OnlyFans.
And you're saying it's because of
not
the
porn.
characteristics that
But if
come
they're a
with
porn
that.
star,
No,
then it's-
porn's worse.
Yeah.
So okay.
Yeah.
I mean, well, OF is they're. I mean, if she just does traditional porn, and then she does OF, there's like different considerations there. I mean, look, most of these OF girls are just like constant liars.
Pick-me
They lie
girls.
about everything. We've had them on the show. They lie about their age. They lie about everything. They lie. They make up stories for content. Blah blah blah. That's why I'm. In any case, so look, I think it is suboptimal. So yeah, I don't know.
it's just
Oh, here's the other. I mean, the other reason. I mean, I kind of already touched on it. As a woman, your future husband and children will not appreciate naked photos of you being available on the internet. There's like the potential for bullying for the child.
Don't have kids.
And just as somebody.
Their round meatball
thank
donated
you, Mr.
$200.
Thank you.
Brian is right on the money.
He's a brave
Thank
and
you, Mr.
decent
Meatball.
man. He's a pioneer.
Good to have you back, man. Good to have you back. Thank you, bro. Look, I mean,